This is Yuki Tsunoda, the shortest driver in Formula 1. He looks small, but in Formula 1, that's actually a huge advantage. Most of these drivers are insanely light, their necks weirdly massive, and none of them look like your average gym bro. So what's going on here? Why are F1 drivers built like this? Why does being small help? And why would throwing a regular person into a Formula 1 car be a total disaster? This is Formula Lore. On average, F1 drivers today are between 170 and 178 centimeters and weigh between 65 and 73 kilos. But some, like Yuki, are way below that, and George Russell is over 185 centimeters tall. Every extra centimeter often brings extra kilograms, and that's where the challenge begins, because there's a strict minimum weight rule. As of today, the combined weight of a car and a driver must hit 800 kilos. If they're too light, they have to add dense metal blocks placed in precise spots to balance the car perfectly. If they're too heavy, they are simply slower. The lighter the driver, the more weight the team can place exactly where they want for performance. A heavier driver, and you're stuck carrying the mass and lose setup flexibility. This gave smaller drivers a natural edge, but for years it left taller drivers at a disadvantage. Back in 2018, Esteban Ocon, who's 190 centimeters tall, was cutting meals, skipping breakfast, and pushing his body to stay light, just to avoid hurting their lap times. It got dangerous enough that in 2019, the FIA introduced a new rule. The driver and seat must weigh at least 80 kilos. And as of 2025, they've increased that minimum to 82 kilos to further protect the driver's health. If the driver weighs less, extra weight is added directly under the seat to compensate. This leveled the playing field on paper, but even today, smaller drivers are still open to key advantages. If you look at the 2025 rookie class, they are even smaller on average than the veterans, proving that teams still favor compact drivers, despite the weight rules designed for balancing things out. But why is that? Because weights under the seat are still better for the car than human mass spread across the body. The weights are compact, dense, and placed low and central, ideal for balance and car handling. On the other hand, extra body weight raises the car's center of gravity and limits where mass can be distributed. That's why teams still love drivers that give engineers more freedom to control the car setup for maximum performance. But here's the thing, just because you're small doesn't mean you're allowed to be built like a stick. The physical demands of driving an F1 car are brutal. In the corners, an F1 car pulls up to 5 to 6 Gs. That means your head and helmet, normally around 7 kilos, suddenly feel like over 40 kilos pulling sideways. For comparison, hard braking in a normal car is around 1 G, a roller coaster 3 to 4 Gs, fighter jet up to 9 Gs, but only briefly, and an F1 car 5 to 6 Gs, lap after lap for 2 hours straight. To handle this, drivers need freakish neck strength. Their necks are visibly thicker, often between 41 and 44 centimeters in circumference, compared to an average person's 38 centimeters. Their training is ultra-specific. They strap harnesses to their head and tilt against the resistance, use elastic bands pulling sideways, and wear weighted helmets to simulate race conditions. It's not about looking like a bodybuilder. It's about functional strength, holding your head upright under massive forces, while maintaining razor-sharp focus and control. What's wild is that you don't see this level of neck-specific training even in other motorsports, because no other racing car pulls this unique combination of downforce and G-forces lap after lap for this long. But now why can't a regular person just jump into an F1 car and drive? Well, even if you somehow manage to fit inside the tiny cockpit, you'd immediately face a much bigger problem: the G-forces. Most untrained people would black out under the braking and quartering loads of an F1 car. Even if you manage to stay conscious, you wouldn't have the leg strength to hit the pedals properly, which requires over 100 kilos of force per pedal press. And then there's the heat. Cockpit temperatures can reach 50 to 60 Celsius, and a race lasts nearly 2 hours. Without endurance training, a regular person would overheat and dehydrate long before the checkered flag. Even pro sim racers and celebrities who have had the chance to do demo laps in an F1 car often describe the experience as shockingly violent and exhausting. most can barely manage a few laps at reduced speed, and that's without the full intensity of the race conditions. And after all that physical punishment, there's still one final hurdle. The car and driver have to pass a strict post-session inspection. The secured area where no modifications are allowed. The drivers stay in full gear, helmet, gloves, overalls when stepping on the scale, so the FIA can confirm everything meets regulations. If the car is underweight after the session or race, it's an automatic penalty or disqualification. Back in the day, if you coasted back to the pits and burned extra fuel, you risk going under the weight limit and losing a result entirely. That's why you'd often see drivers parking trackside and hopping out right away. They were protecting the car's legality at all costs. These days, teams are much better at fuel and weight management, but the rules are still strict. If you can't provide a minimum fuel sample after the race, you can be disqualified. For example, Sebastian Vettel at Hungary in 2021. And it's not just about weight, height matters too. Because even though the FIA doesn't set a formal height limit, the car's physical design definitely does. Cockpits are molded precisely to fit each driver's body. Tall drivers need longer legroom, longer steering reach, which increases the car's frontal area and worsens aerodynamic efficiency. To stay competitive, taller drivers have to be incredibly disciplined with their body composition, constantly balancing staying lean and staying strong, since every kilo matters. Meanwhile, a smaller driver's body allows the car around them to be designed more compactly, which reduces drag and improves airflow, a subtle but meaningful aerodynamic advantage. That's why taller drivers like George Russell or Nico Hülkenberg often require custom cockpit designs, which complicate the car's layout and can slightly compromise performance. Smaller drivers like Yuki are easier to package into the most optimized car designs. This was Formula Lore. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to watch another like this one right here and hit the like button. See you next time.